for the earth plane to sort out. In the past, you had your politicians, you had your spiritual leaders who tried to do what was the best for all. Whether they were poor, whether they were rich, it did not matter. You had many speak to you who walked this earth in poverty. They may have been born into houses that were well off, where they could have comfortable lives, but they saw the suffering around them and chose to leave that and walk the earth in poverty themselves to bring upliftment to others. You know many of those. They are great spiritual leaders. I rephrase that, great spiritual teachers who are now revered. The likes of Buddha, Lao, who spoke earlier, and many others who have walked this earth. They come to bring philosophy. That philosophy is the higher teaching of the Spirit, not man-made philosophy, but true philosophy that comes from God. You talked on your discussion earlier about different kinds of mediumship, different kinds or different ways that your gifts can develop. Your gift can develop in any way you wish them to develop, but you will be helped only if that is the way that is right for you. Because sometimes we get ideas in our head on things that we want to do, and they are not always the best for us. But that is true in life, not just on your spiritual journey. We talked earlier of spirit guides, those who have been mediums and healers in the past, who will work with any of you if you ask them or need them. The name of Leslie Flint was mentioned earlier. Great healers work with many of you, not just those who worked as spiritual healers, but those who worked with herbs in the times of the Egyptians and the Greeks and earlier civilizations. But all of those were working with spirits. The healer we spoke of was Harry Edwards, who many of you will have heard of. He works with many of you, and if you want his help with your healing, send out a thought and he will help. If he can, if you have been taught in the way where his methods would be acceptable to you. It is same with mediumship. We work with anyone who can work with us, because we are all different. You are all different. You all develop your mediumship in different ways. My name was mentioned earlier. My name is Leslie. I worked for many, many years as a medium and was the most tested in history. I believe that may still be the case. I worked with direct voice. How I did it, I don't know. I never did know. I just closed my eyes, I went into a trance state, and the voices came. For me, it was a wonderful way of working. But each and every one of you have your own ways of working. If others wish to work in the same way I did, as was said earlier, needs dedication and time to sit in the power. That is an expression that few of you may know nowadays, but it can be explained to you what that means if you wish to do it. But there are many, many things that each of you can do with your own guides, with your own inspirers. You have had those today that have come through with humour. As was said, you have talked before about taking our work into a public audience. And yes, we would all love our philosophy to be the mainstay of people's lives, which, if people are spiritual, we hope it is. But if they are coming to watch a demonstration, unfortunately, they do want entertainment as well as philosophy. And that is why you were shown today the sort of communicators that we can bring through, if you want to work in that way. So we talk about developing for a great time and spending many months and years in development to do public demonstrations. But you have seen today, it will work anytime you want to do it. And the reason it will work anytime you want to do it is because you are the right people to do it. You have the trust of each other, you have the trust in yourselves, you have the trust in your guides. And when you have that trust and you work, as has been mentioned earlier, as a team with Spirit, as a team with your guides, then everything you do will work. Some of you doubt yourselves. You have spoken earlier about not having confidence of standing in front of people and working on your own. That is fair enough, but there is no need to ever fear. I worked in front of hundreds of people and I was terrified, but I was never ever let down by those on the Spirit side of life. And that is the same with each and every one of you. Whatever you want to turn your hand to with Spirit, just have trust, have faith, never ever doubt, because that energy, that power is there around each and every one of you. We say in your development about sitting in the power. You can learn to do that. It is an old expression which was used when sitting for mediumistic development before the more Eastern techniques of meditation were brought in. The meditation works well for most of your work, but if you want to develop deep mediumship or deep trance, like direct voice or materialization or apportment, these things can still be done, but you need to go to that very deep space to be able to do it, to sit in that power. And some sit for years and years to develop the gift. It is possible, but it needs time and it needs dedication. Each and any one of you can take yourself to that higher level if you want to, but it's having that dedication to spend that time away from your daily entertainments or televisions or whatever it is that you do, because you need to sit for many, many hours a week to develop that gift. It will happen, and some of you will do it, and we know which ones will do it, and we know which ones have the intent and the trust and the faith. And those who do that already know the guides that you will work with when you do that. You may not know them in your conscious mind, but your higher mind knows who you work with. But we will leave that for now. Things have been said already about asking questions. If you wish to ask questions of me, you can, but please remember, in life I was a simple grave digger. I was not a scientist, so nothing too difficult, please.
If you were here now in human form and upon your spiritual journey, how would you want to develop yourself?
with myself, I feel that I would continue the journey I was on. I was the most tested medium in history, and I was tested because those on the earth plane, and the scientists in particular, spent many, many years trying to discredit our work and prove that trance is false. So I would happily continue the work I did before until the scientists, actually the physical scientists in the earth plane, actually admit that our work is genuine and is real. There are too many who have tried to discredit myself, Helen Duncan, all those who worked for Spirit at the higher level. And I would be quite happy to do another incarnation carrying in my work and forcing those scientists to admit the truth of spiritual knowledge and spiritual communication.
How close are we to getting the traditional scientists to accept spiritual science?
There are scientists who accept spiritual science, but they are, like many others in your modern world, their voices are not allowed to be heard because of the majority. And that is the way your world is at the moment. There is too much censorship, and those who speak the truth are quieted and put to one side and ignored. So there are a percentage now of scientists in this world who know. There are people in the spiritual community around the world quietly working with mediums and with spiritually developed souls to bring evidence into this world. But the spiritual journals and the spiritual entities where all this research has to be accepted will not even tolerate reading these reports. But that work is already going on. We would like to think that in the next 20 to 30 years there will be scientific acknowledgement of spiritual reality. But many in this world now, because of the changing energy in the world which we know about, are becoming aware of spiritual reality. There are those in the spiritual community, in the scientific community, as we say, who already accept it. But the majority are still very much locked into material science and not spiritual science.
What are you able to do from spirit side in relation to trance development, in relation to direct voice, for those who are interested in doing so?
We can work and will work with anyone who wants to develop in this way. However, as you know, when I worked, I was tied to chairs, put in boxes, and all the rest of it, because the voice box used for direct voice is outside of the body, using I can't remember what you call it, ectoplasm. The scientists, the people of Earth caused the death of Helen Duncan by touching the ectoplasm. So there is a great deal of care needed, because if spirit is forming material voice box to allow direct voice, then we need to ensure the conditions are controlled enough to stop mankind or humanity trying even harder to try and disprove it and causing damage to the medium. We can do that work, but as was stated earlier, it needs dedication and it needs time. There are too many now who sit or say that they can only work in darkness with trance or with direct voice. You and I know that if it is working in darkness, you cannot be sure that that medium is genuine. And that is where we have to be careful. Although we can help the medium develop, we have to find ways of working that will ensure that the work done is true to spirit and true to the integrity of the medium.
Thank you for those words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And is there anything you would like to see happening upon the earth plane that is not happening from your own personal perspective now that you're spirit side, that you would like to see happening?
From my own perspective in this world, like anybody spiritual, either on the earth plane or in spirit, will be to see peace coming into this world, to see tolerance. This world has gone through 2 world wars that I lived through and served in one. It is not a nice place to be, and this world is going towards war again. For whatever reason, this world has become intolerant,